just takes a couple of processes. I say, well, it'll be about 15, 20 minutes. Yeah, and then we'll be all right. Right. Any second now, the recording button will go red. We're recording. Ashley Beedle.
Hello, how are you?
Welcome to Club Chill Records Tracks of the Unexpected. Bit of an odd start there. I was trying to do something technical wise with one hand, but we should be all right. The point is we can see you. You're looking really healthy, looking well. You're good.
Thank
Joe's
you.
okay?
She's very, very good. Yeah.
Excellent. Have you managed to get, I know you haven't, but will you be able to get a copy of this, the new Faith thing?
I will get one, yes. I will actually. Now you've told me what to do earlier, offline, I shall get myself a copy.
Do you know what? It arrived today, and it was like the next evolution for Boyzone, wasn't it? You know, this
yes,
place, you know,
yes.
And this is like the next thing. It's got all that feel and flavour of it, the text, and it's just beautiful. You know what I mean? And exactly what's needed at the moment, isn't it? So I think we do need.
I think we do need to have a physical magazine. It's quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah, and we don't. You know, yeah, absolutely. Well, we don't want to lose them, do we? But they are going thick and fast these days, aren't they?
They are.
Like music. But here today, then, Tracks of the Unexpected. I knew you'd be good for this, and I know Joe will be good for this next week as well. So you've already sent me, so I know what's there, and instantly I was surprised. But what's your first track, please, Ashley, on your Tracks of the Unexpected? What's in your record collection we would expect you to have?
Well, it's the Stereolab track. With do you know what? I can't remember the bloody title now. It's got flower in the title, isn't it?
The flower called Nowhere. It's an absolutely great title, isn't it?
Yeah, flower called Nowhere. Now, the interesting thing about Stereolab, I sort of came into the sound of Stereolab quite late, because they were one of those bands that I'd always read about quite a lot, or I'd bump into people who would say to me, "Oh, have you ever heard of the latest Stereolab?" or blah blah blah, and I'd be like, no, you know. And then one day I heard a track called Ping Pong, which they did quite a long time ago, and it was, to me, one of the most glorious things I ever heard. And I ended up doing an edit of Ping Pong, which the band, from what I understood, or they fell in love with it, the edit, and even though it was shall we say a bit under the counter, they fell in love with it, and BBC Six Music were like playing it to death and all the rest of it. But all it was just an extension of a glorious track, which is Ping Pong. And the latest one I've chosen for your interview here was another Stereolab track that I found online. You know, and it's one of those bands that the more you go into them, you know, the more you can only but become a fan of what they're about, you know. But I kind of haven't done too much research into like the history of the band, and there's a reason for that.
Right.
For me, it's like they're kind of magical. So in terms of how I listen to Stereolab, that's how they're staying. Because you know, I do understand that one of the vocalists passed away a couple of years ago, which was very sad. But in terms of what they're about, the sound, and I just keep it as it is, you know. And it's and I, you know, now and again I'll go onto Spotify, or I might buy one of their CDs or something like that, and you know, have a good listen. And it's really inspiring stuff. And it's you know, it's made me think as well about how, you know, I construct music by listening to Stereolab. So yeah, it's fantastic stuff.
Excellent. Right. Okay. Yeah. This is exactly the stuff. Little diversion. The COVID period. We were talking this offline about getting in the studio. Did you find it a really creative time at the moment, Ash? You know, just be able to use this time for that kind of creativity and making music and whatever.
I felt, to be honest with you, I've found it extremely creative, you know, from writing about stuff I need to be doing, talking to Joe about projects on her Ramrock F-Star Clear labels.
Yeah.
I've done 4 quite high high-end remixes as well. So I did Lady Blackbird, Bent, Groove Armada, and I'm working with another guy called Danilo Bacher in New York at the moment for him. And I'm also going to be doing some something for Wah 45 as well. So the work's been coming in. It's been quite interesting because prior to COVID, not saying the work was slow, but I think what's happened with the whole COVID thing is it's made a lot of the record companies and people in the music industry now sort of changing gear, if you like, because, you know, a lot of people now all of a sudden, because of the whole COVID thing, are buying more music, strange as it sounds. They are.
Yeah, absolutely are. Yeah, I have been, you know, yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, so where I suppose the whole gig thing for me and a lot of other people kind of, you know, pay for our way of life. For me now, I've gone back into the whole production end of the game now and the remixing. So I'm happy, you know, I'm really, really happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And we won't talk about it now, but we've got some stuff coming up with Terry Farley, haven't we? Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
So
yes.
we'll get onto that another time.
I'm keeping that a secret, that one. Yes.
But looking forward to that. Right, please, Ashley, what's your next track in your Tracks of the Unexpected?
It is Patti Smith, Piss Factory.
Yeah, wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, that it's one of the ultimate records. You know, I heard it first on, let me get this right now. I heard it first on John Peel, and he played the 7-inch, and he went on because the A-side was actually a version of Hey Joe.
Yes.
But he said, I'm not going to play this side. I'm going to play this side because I really like it. You know, typical John Peel. And he played it, and I remember just sitting there going, "Oh my God, this is stunning," you know. Yeah. And I kind of knew of Patti Smith. I knew of her Horses album.
Yeah, which is fabulous. Yeah,
which is a fantastic album anyway. But when I heard Piss Factory, it did, you know, from the spoken word of it, the beautiful piano. It's almost like I don't know. It sounds to me like a jazz record. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's got that vibe to it. It's a real sort of beat jazz record, you know.
Yeah.
And I managed to get a copy. In fact, I owned one copy at first, then lost it. So I managed to get another copy not so long ago. But the first copy I ever bought was from Zaf, who used to work in Love Vinyl. Well, works in Love Vinyl. And he was working for Record and Tape Exchange. No, sorry, Reckless Records.
Yeah.
And I used to work across the road and this is the Islington branch.
Right.
And I used to work across the road at C.F. Anderson's Timber Yard. And so I remember going over there to see if I could get this record. And he was working downstairs at the time. And as I walked downstairs, I looked to the kind of right of me, and there was the 7-inch on the wall, already priced. I was like, brilliant. I just got it. Yeah, that was it.
It is. Because of that though, and Horses, did you sort of keep an eye on Patti Smith's stuff? You know, because
yeah, well, I'm you know, we were talking offline earlier. You know, I've read some of her books, etc. And when it comes to Patti Smith, she's a very, very interesting character, and I think what she's done what she has done for women in music and what she has done for people in general has been quite extraordinary. Amazing artist, and she's still going strong to this day. I think she might have, well, from what I understand, she might have retired just a little bit, but you know, she's done some incredible stuff, and she deserves a blue plaque.
Do you know what I mean? She was at the heart of all that sort of CBGB's New York thing, wasn't she?
That's right, yeah.
And Blondie, and that was just a great period of music. You know what I mean? That late sort of mid to late 70s thing that they were doing.
Yes.
She was unique. They were all unique, weren't they? But they all seemed to work. This mad house of people. You know what I mean? And
yes, it's true. I remember seeing her on the I know I don't look old, but I remember seeing her on the Old Grey Whistle Test, and stunning performance, you know.
Yeah.
And she was married to Fred Sonic Smith, who was originally in, let me get this right now, MC5?
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Yeah, would have been. Yeah, Detroit mob, weren't they?
Yeah, they were Detroit mob.
Detroit, who found their way up to New York at some point, no doubt.
Yeah.
But yes, Piss Factory, spot on. That gets my thumbs up. Next one threw me a bit when you sent it over. The XTC track. What's that all about then?
Oh, Making Plans for Nigel. Well,
Yeah.
it's funny. I fell in love with that record. I think it's when they might have performed it on Top of the Pops.
Probably, yeah.
You know, I think I heard it on Top of the Pops before I actually heard it on the radio. But when I heard it, it had that real kind of, because I was a bit bored, I think, with I always got bored very quickly with a certain music style. So I had that lovely soul and jazz funk coursing through my veins, probably when that record came out.
Yeah.
But I was into other things. You know, I was into Joy Division, and I was into Orange Juice, and those sort of bands.
Yeah.
And when I first heard that, I thought, oh, this is quite a stunning little track, and I fell in love with it. And it was just the way that track is so English. It's so unique.
Yeah.
When you listen to it, you think that could only have made in England.
Yeah.
And it turns out anyway. I mean, I can't remember the main guy in XTC, but he went on to do some incredible kind of English psychedelic music as well.
Right.
Dukes of Stratosphere, I think, was
Right.
the band he went on.
Okay.
Andy, is it Andy? Can't remember his surname now. Anyway, cut
Yeah.
long story short, but yeah, it's an amazing record. And funny little tale was that I got invited for, not invited, I got asked to go for an interview for a job at Virgin Records as a tape operator.
Right.
And and this was before that. I think this is before that record came out. And when I went there, I think it was down in Shepherd's Bush. I went for the job. I turned up in a suit, and next to me was this other geezer that looked like he'd been dragged through a hedge backwards. Denim. He got the job. And that guy who got the job, can't remember his name is actually on the record. If you look at the single, Making Plans for Nigel, it's got him down as a tape operator. So I missed my chance.
Hey, you missed your chance. I think you got your name on a few sleeves since then.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, XTC, really good. I imagine it's around 78, 79, that kind of period. It must be around that.
It was.
Poppy, but cool pop, wasn't it? You know what I mean?
Cool pop, yeah.
Yeah.
And they actually did a tune, didn't they, called This Is Pop, XTC as well. I can't remember if that came afterwards or before, but
I think it was after. But I don't mind a bit XTC, but I think that's, again, it's a sound, that new wave thing that came and went, but a few good bands come out of that, didn't they? Without a doubt. Which reminds me of your next track. Then what's the next one then? This is the next one you've got going on.
Right, the next track is the Adverts.
Yeah.
And that's looking at Gary Gilmore's Eyes.
Yes, yeah.
Now, the reason why I've chosen that is it's very fond memories. When I was at school, one of my best friends at school was a guy called Martin Dowd, who was a bit of a character, to say the least. I think he tried to blow up my school by setting fire to the gas cylinders or something.
Right.
I don't know where he is now, so I hope he catches this interview. But his brother had an extraordinary punk rock collection.
Right.
So come lunchtime, Martin just lived literally round the corner from the school. So we would go to his house while his brother was at work.
Yep.
And jump around on his sofa to myriads of punk records. And the one that always stood out for me was the Adverts, Gary Gilmore's Eyes. Because, I mean, what band can actually sit there and write a song about a serial killer or whatever he did?
Ashley, where did you go to school then? Where did you grow up? Tell us about that.
I grew up in Harrow. I grew up in Harrow, with Northwest London, and my school was called Mount View High School, which is in Belmont, which is kind of not far from Harrow anyway, not far from Harrow Weald. It's whatever direction it is. Yeah. But that's my school. But quite an interesting school, to say the least. I hated it. And I couldn't wait to get out.
Right, okay, all right. Yeah. And just out of interest, what's your earliest memories of music then? What was the soundtrack to your sort of early teenage years? You know, what your family, what you was around?
Well, my dad and my mother both were into their music in a big way, you know. My mum was more of would put me onto stuff, you know, if she'd heard it on the radio or something like that, she would point me in the right direction.
Yeah.
My dad was the record collector, and he's very much, I've taken after him, really, to be honest.
Yeah.
But he had an incredible record collection, you know, from, I've always said this to people, you know, it went from Bach to Big Youth.
Yeah.
So you can understand the depth, can't you, of that kind of music.
Yeah, brilliant.
And it was incredible. So, you know, I was turned on to a lot of brand new music as well as the classics.
Yeah.
When I was very, very young. So, you know, and also he was a big reggae fan. He was a big, you know, funk and soul fan. He had, and all my dad's friends as well, they were all reggae collectors and record collectors, etc., etc. So, you know, I was exposed to so much good music when I was young that, I mean, you know, and my dad's family as well were very musical.
Right.
And they, in fact, my dad's elder brother Tony, he had a band called Reflections,
right?
Which were, I think they went on to Opportunity Knocks,
oh.
but they didn't win.
It was the name.
It was the name, yeah, the Reflections, yeah. But you know, no, but you know, so I, you know, and growing up in Harrow was very, very good for, how can we say, lots of clubs. Lots of youth clubs where the music was brilliant, you know. Yeah. So, and then, you know, people like Robbie Vincent and Greg Edwards and Tom Holland, and they would always come to Harrow to do gigs.
Yeah.
So, to be honest with you, until I went to Crackers, prior to that, and we had it all on our plate in Harrow.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, I've always wondered, actually. I went and asked it. But I can only imagine that your record collection, now combined with Joe's record collection, probably fills up a decent sized room, but I can imagine there's some real gems in there, you know, between the two.
Yeah, I mean, we are getting rid of a lot, I think, through our own Discogs page, but as much as we get rid of, we buy. I mean, I've just turned into a complete reggae fanatic now.
Right.
So I'm always searching for, you know, strange and wonderful tunes in the world of reggae.
Yeah.
Joe doesn't buy as much as me, I don't think. I sort of have to hide records under the carpet. But Joe still collects records and stuff that she's after, you know, which is really good. But Joe's got an incredible, you know, Northern Soul, crossover soul collection anyway.
Yeah.
Which she's had for many years now.
Yeah.
You know, and she's still...
Yeah, missing her Soulgate nights. Maybe they'll come back, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but, you know, she still sort of blows my head off now and again. She'll pull a tune out and go, have you heard this? And you sort of go, well, what's that? You know, and the next thing you know, you go, God. Yeah,
it goes on and on, actually, doesn't it?
Yes,
actually wonderful. Right, and have you got a chilled track for us then for this evening? Is another track?
Yes. The chilled track is Arnold Jarvis, And I Love You. It's funny when you asked about a chilled track or a chilled house track, to say the least, but that record kind of always it's resonated with me for quite a long time. I've even wanted to cover it, but you know what? You sort of think you're never going to do as good as the original. Never. You know, maybe you could get Arnold Jarvis in, you know, in fact, give it a go. You go and get hold of Arnold. Let's redo it. But no, but he, you know, that particular cut for me, you know, it's extraordinary record, and you know, and it's got that classic death mix sound. You know, it's got Satoshi Tomi. I think I can't remember who did the mix. Knuckles might have done the mix on that. I'm not quite sure. I don't think I've ever read the credits properly, but it's got that feel. It's got that death mix feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just that, and it's not aged for me. That's just a classic, brilliant, soulful house record. You know, it's an absolute anthem. Brilliant.
Yeah, wonderful, excellent, absolutely wonderful. Ashley, Beedle, thanks for doing this evening. All right, I'm looking forward to speaking to Joe next week. But being this now, this Tracks of the Unexpected, really appreciate that. Let's leave it there. I'll get it wound up. It'll be pushed around the socials and YouTube and all that. We'll put the music in. But I really appreciate taking the time. Good to hear that in those conversations. And speak to you again soon. All right.
Yes, lovely. Speak to you later. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.